All right, well, I've just hit a decent shot into the green, but I was a little bit long, okay? And I'm about to show you a scenario that happens pretty much every single round you play, but make this choice and I guarantee you're gonna save shots every single round. Here we are, pretty seemingly easy shot, right? Ball just up past the green. We got about 15 yards to go, 10, 15 yards to go. But the mistake you make when you're here is killing your scores. Let's find out what you need to do instead. And yes, it's easy. Okay, so here we are, just over the green, right? I know, because I do it too. Our first club that we pick up is either a lob wedge or a sand wedge, just like this, all right? It's just a natural, seems to be, I'm near the green, I'm in a bit of rough, I've got to get it high, because that's the shot we want. We want to be able to hit the shot high and up, because we want it to land soft. So you think, okay, that's great. But what happens way too often is, because we're on such a slope here, all right? Because we're on such a slope, we are going to end up kind of digging into the ground way too often. We're going to sort of flubbing it short. All sorts of crappy shots happen. So what do we need to do instead? Well, you can play your sand iron and you can float it all the way up. We just have to get a little bit better. It takes a bit of practice, right? To get that sort of height, to get the height that we want, and to get the direction and for it to land exactly where we want, because we don't have much green to work with. But it's more about just getting a decent contact and not really screwing it up. And perhaps you don't have loads and loads of time to practice to be able to use your lob wedges or sand wedges or whatever. So what else can you do? Well, think about it like this, all right? Because most greens are, around the green, they're kind of sloped, not as much as this. I just thought this was a good time to demonstrate it, to really add that visual. But even if it's just a little bit more subtle, because the ground is a bit more like this, what it's doing is already adding loft. So when you try and hit a sand iron, you've either got to really follow the slope, which is in turn going to send it even higher, which is going to be a bit more difficult to control, and it can often sort of slide across the face. And you can actually see the shot I hit there, right? It actually caught out the toe because it sort of slid up the face, and I didn't get the best contact. It worked out okay, but it wasn't fantastic. So let's use the slope. Let's use the natural loft that we're given. So instead of picking up your sand iron or whatever, okay, just use what I've got here is my 9-iron, right? I'm going to use my 9-iron. And what is that going to do? It's going to, it's going to still give me the loft, because I'm adding, really, this is sort of becoming a sand iron. But the benefit is here, I don't have to make as long a swing. I don't have to have so much finesse to get it all the way up. I can use a technique that is a little bit more bump and run-esque. My margin for error has increased. The chances of me totally screwing up are much less. And I think you want that. Before I carry on, does this resonate with you? Do you find that you pretty much always choose a sand iron around the greens? Now, let's ignore a bump and run, because you should be using that when it's like fairway and not much turf to go over. But do you always go for your lob wedge or sand iron? If you do, let me know below. So the way we play this shot, it's not rocket science here. We're just going to grip down it a little bit, okay? And we're going to play it more like a bump and run, but we're going to adjust our stance. So we've got weight on the back foot and we're just following the slope. You see that? It's almost like I'm kind of putting it up the hill. Now, you're not going to be able to do this out of really thick rough, but the ball's sitting up. I mean, even if we go down a little bit here, okay? Let's be a little bit meaner. I can still commit through this, but a short little action, I'm going to stand a little bit nearer to it, and it's going to help me just pop it up. It's so much easier, and I've still got enough height off the shot. I've still got it to stop short enough. The result was perfectly good and actually better than my first attempt trying to have a bit more finesse. So this is perfect. If you don't always have time to practice, if you don't always have the ability to play the perfect shot, let's just get rid of the crap shots and your scores will plummet, no matter what level of golfer you are, all right? So here we are in another scenario, just around the green, we've got the upslope here. We don't always have to pick the sand iron. It might seem like it's the only option because you haven't got much green to work with, you're trying to hit it high. But the thing is, whether you're in the fairway or in the rough, you know, it's very easy to sort of chunk these shots a little bit and leave them short, and you're still in a bad shape, okay? So the idea is, because we're on an upslope, we can use something like a 9-iron or pitching wedge, something that is just a little bit easier, a little bit more forgiving, all right? And from there, we can actually just do the same sort of action and hit the shot up, okay? We get more than enough height, we get the shot we want. So just make life a little bit easier for you. Okay, so we're in an unusual circumstance here, but it happens. Now, trying to always play the sand iron again, our margin for error is quite difficult to try and just pop it up. It's easy to, you know, duff it. Make it a bit easier, use the slope that's already adding loft, okay? And we just do a little chip and run, and the result, as you see, is much better, okay? Let's make golf just a little bit more simple, a little bit easier.